Crystal Palace 0, Chelsea 1. Again, not a pretty win, but a hugely important 3 points. And against a team that have caused us many issues and poor results over recent years, I don't care about how we win. What matters is that we win, and that's what we did. As Kante scored the decisive goal following a magical pass by David Luiz. To find out everything about the game as it happened, make sure you watch all of this review. Hello there guys, and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my review of the Crystal Palace 0, Chelsea 1 game. And like I just said in the intro, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't great. I mean, it was decent, I thought, a lot better than I think a lot of people think that this game, actually was, than our performance was. I think it was decent. It wasn't great, but I don't care whether it was pretty or not. We won it against Palace, who, we've lost to them plenty of times, we've drawn against them plenty of times. All I care about is that we won, and we did. So I'm very, very happy. Of course, this is the review. There will be fan cams, there will be a vlog, all sorts of content surrounding the game. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea. Let's also see whether we can hit 400 or more likes in this video. That would be massively appreciated. So please do make sure to smash that like button down below. And this isn't just meant to be self-promo, but obviously, I don't have the time to speak about every bit of news that breaks, that comes out. So whether that's about Callum Hudson-Odoi, Bayern Munich's bid for him, or are interested in Mats Hummels, or all of these things, I can't speak about all of them. But if you do care about what I have to say about them, please do make sure you follow me on my Twitter. Obviously, the link is here and in the description below. Last 1507 on over there. Just follow me there. If you care about what I have to say on these things, obviously comment on all of these things on Twitter. So yeah, just saying, if you do want to know, follow me over there, because I just don't have the time to comment on everything as a video, basically. But getting into the review now and starting it off with the lineup, there was, well, not a major surprise in that, but there was some different changes to what I expected. It was obviously the 4-3-3. Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, then a back four, Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso did stay in the side as the left back. Centre back 2 being Antonio Rudiger and David Luiz is expected. Then a midfield 3 of Jorginho and Kante and Ross Barkley. And then a front 3 of Eden Hazard back on the wing on the left hand side, Willian on the right, and Olivier Giroud started up front. Now our bench is what was particularly weird. We had 4 defenders on the bench in Andreas Christensen, David Zappacosta, Emerson Palmieri and Ethan Ampadu, along with Mateo Kovacic and Alvaro Morata. Although probably Ampadu was probably on there as a sub for midfield, as that holding midfield maybe, and Emerson as a winger option, which is also where he came on throughout the game. As Ruben Loftus-Cheek, although not mentioned by Sarri on Friday, turned out that he isn't fully fit, dealing with some sort of back issue. I don't know why Sarri didn't mention it, but that's why he wasn't involved, and also presumably why he wasn't involved against Watford. Plus, apparently, Cesc Fabregas also, has picked up some sort of injury. I'm not sure whether he had that before Friday. I don't think so, but that's why he wasn't involved today either. But getting into the game, we completely dominated it from the start. But Palace set very deep, very, very deep, and also defended well, to be honest, and just stopped us from getting into their box ever for a good period of the game. And for me, it was very easy to tell and very quickly to tell that Hazard playing on the wing again, for my liking, it was just way too far away from the danger zone for the majority of the game. Yes, he's great at running at people, but even Hazard, even someone like Hazard, can't run past an entire wall of opponents. And because he's, stood further away from the area and can't just turn them and be already inside the box to score and stuff like that, he has to run at them, and then there's just too many people for him to do much. So that's why I'm not a fan of it, again, that much against these very defensive sides. I mean, by the time we had our first half chance of the game, almost 50 minutes had gone. Willian played a free kick into the box from a half left position. Rudiger got on the end of it, and I think actually tried to flick it on towards the far post, towards Olivier Giroud. But, Rudiger didn't get enough on the ball, and it was an easy catch for the keeper. Olivier Giroud then actually scored an absolute screamer of a running volley with just under half an hour gone, but was ruled offside. I thought rightly so, because I thought his head was off, which obviously still counts, but it was very close. Although I was then later told on Twitter, that apparently Sky, in their halftime kind of show, whatever, revealed that he wasn't offside. I didn't get to see another replay of it, and very disappointing if he was onside, because that was an absolute scream of a goal. A few minutes later, Eden Hazard finally got into a decent position to start to run, and was brought down just a few yards outside the box in a good free kick position. Willian stepped up to take it, and hit the post with a great free kick. Again, the bloody woodwork. How many more times are we going to hit this bloody woodwork? Especially the post. Well, I'll tell you, because moments later, we hit the bloody post again. This time through Ross Barkley, following a corner when he made space for himself with, to be honest, a bit of a push. Probably should have been a foul, but wasn't given to my knowledge anyway. And then he went for a rather unorthodox kind of overhead kick, but connected well with the ball, and like I said, hit it against the post, which obviously, was frustrating, against the same post that Willian hit just moments earlier. So, that was a bit frustrating. And, like I said, we dominated the ball, but whenever Palace had the ball, there was a huge lack of pressing by us, also in the second half, but in the first half too. It was frustrating, because when the opponents sit so deep, it makes it so difficult for you to break them down. When they do finally attack, you do have to press them, because then you can win the ball, you know, back way higher up the pitch when they don't have as many men back basically to defend against you, and then you find it a lot easier to score. But we didn't press like that today. Well, I'm not sure whether that was through instructions of Sarri, which I very much doubt, just the players not doing it. But that was just very frustrating. Like, it would have made it much easier to score, but that was then half time at 0-0. And even though we did hit the post twice, it was still not a great half. You know, Palace sat so deep and defended well, making it near on impossible to score from open play, to be honest. Although passing the ball a lot quicker, you know, would certainly have helped and would certainly help in the second half. And what was frustrating to see for me was the fact that we had Barkley playing, who does have a decent shot in him, even though most of the time when he does go for a shot, you know, he's into Rose, but he still does have a decent strike in him. But he never once went for goal from outside the box. The only ones that did in the first half were Kante and Jorginho, who, you know, I don't see either of them as great strikers of the ball, to be honest. And also, I would have wanted Hazard to be changed, you know, into the middle as the striker. But with not having any wingers on the bench, you know, to replace Olivier Giroud, that wasn't really an option. But thankfully, straight into the second half, the first thing that really happened was us taking the lead through N'Golo Kante in the 51st minute from a throw-in, you know, quite deep into Palace half. You know, with two intermediate stops in between there. The ball was then played back to David Luiz, who, you know, did cover a few yards with the ball at his feet, while N'Golo Kante made a great run from midfield into the box, a really, really good run. And then David Luiz with an outstanding pass into that box, right onto N'Golo Kante's chest. He took it down really well, and then went for goal. You know, it was a bit of an awkward finish because the ball bounced a little bit awkwardly, so he didn't get much power on it, but did get it on target. And even though the keeper did manage to get, you know, a bit of his hand on it, didn't manage to keep it out, and Kante made it 1-0. Possibly, you know, the keeper should have probably saved that. Let's say a better keeper probably would have saved that. You know, I'm not saying he's a bad keeper, but a better keeper possibly would have saved it. But, you know, I'll very much take it. It was a very good goal, a very good assist, and I was extremely happy. But to be honest, the goal didn't change anything to the complexity of the game. Palace still sat just as deep, and we, you know, kept trying to open them up and score and obviously get a second goal. With then just over 20 minutes to go, we created a nice attack from open play finally, because that was, you know, one of very few, basically. Jorginho with a high ball to Olivier Giroud, who headed it back to Hazard from inside the box already. The Belgian then backheeled it to Willian, who made the run behind him, or around him if you want. And Willian then actually did go for goal from a pretty tight angle with his stronger right foot cutting in from the left. The keeper did save it, but basically saved it, parried it to Barkley, you know, at the edge of the box, I think he was. The Scouser then did take the shot, but it was deflected slightly wide of the goal, and from that following corner we didn't do much with that. So that was a little bit frustrating, but that, you know, chance was created very nicely, I thought. Giroud then actually scored another very good goal, but was again ruled offside, and it was again very, very close. I mean, it was played through very nicely. I can't remember who played that ball. I'm sorry, I just can't remember, and I didn't note it down. But, you know, he was played through nicely, took it on, and then he took it a few yards and then blasted it into the roof of the net from just inside the box. I mean, he did only take the strike after the whistle had gone, so I guess it changes, you know, things a little bit. But still, it was another good goal that possibly should have been allowed, but was disallowed. And then Giroud actually got injured in that, you know, situation. I think in collision with the defender, they tried to stop him. He picked up some sort of ankle injury and was then replaced by Alvaro Morata with around 50 minutes to go. And obviously, let's hope that Giroud isn't out for long, just so we obviously have as many options as we possibly can have. And after that substitution, the game looked really calm for a bit. Like, we kept the ball really well. Looked like we would try to score if the chance opened itself up, but naturally wouldn't go all out for it. But, you know, fully controlled Palace, kept the ball really well and just kind of toyed with them a little bit. In the 82nd minute, then Emerson came on to replace Willian for the final few minutes. But those final few minutes did get a lot more nervy again. Obviously, because we didn't kill the game earlier, as has been our issue for the majority of the season. And, you know, Palace finally decided to maybe try and actually score a goal. I mean, they did have a few moments, and a few moments inside the box, and, you know, a few dangerous moments, but thankfully they put all of their efforts and half chances over the bar. Connor Wickham, the striker that came on, had a good chance from pretty close range, but thankfully put it over. And Zaha, from a bit more of a tricky position, you know, put his curling effort well wide and over as well. But, you know, generally just for those last 2 minutes, we just got a bit more lazy and maybe a bit tired as well. Because, you know, we just struggled to keep the ball. We didn't win any headers. We didn't win any second balls. Like, there was a period of the game we won every second, third, fourth, fifth ball. We won every ball. And that's why we managed to dominate the game so much, even though we didn't create all that many chances. But that just stopped. Like, we couldn't win those second, third balls anymore. And that obviously made things a lot easier for Palace to put the pressure on us for the last few minutes. Kovacic did then come on for Ross Barkley with just a couple of minutes to go. But, you know, to be honest, not much happened. You know, them 4 minutes of injury time, I was honestly shitting myself because I was terrified of conceding and obviously drawing the game, but we managed to see it out and take all 3 points from Selhurst Park, and that was then full-time at 1-0 to Chelsea. And like I said already, you know, it certainly wasn't great, but we've lost and drawn against Palace too many times in recent years for me to give a flying fuck about how pretty it was. I care about the win, and that's what we got, so I'm very, very happy. And, well, we certainly weren't perfect and made the last few minutes very, very nervy, you know, by not killing the game. Credit, in my opinion, also has to go to Crystal Palace. You know, everyone is stating them how negative they were and all, and they were, because they barely tried to score. So in the footballing sense, no credit has to go to them. But defensively, you know, a lot of it. You know, a lot of credit has to go to them. They made it so difficult for us. Barely made any mistakes at the very back. You know, they did have some mistakes in midfield and stuff, but not at the back. You know, if any at all. Like I say, barely, if any. I can't remember any, to be honest. Like, their defensive movement and positioning, quite frankly, was absolutely top-notch. That's why people criticise our sideways passing. You know, because it doesn't lead to anything. But that's because they defended so well. That's why the sideways passing doesn't open up gaps. That's what you try and do with the sideways passing. Yes, it should have been a lot quicker. I criticised that when speaking, you know, basically about the first half. But still, you know, they didn't make any mistakes on that. And, you know, so fair play to them in that sense. But, you know, they didn't try to do anything else than get a 0-0 or then at the end a 1-1. But defensively, they were good. But like I said, they didn't do anything going forward except for the last 5 or 6 or 10 minutes or whatever. They literally didn't have a single shot on target in the entire game. I think that kind of says enough. Just to mention a few players, Olivier Giroud's link-up play was horrible, except for that one moment when obviously he headed it down to Hazard and then we had that double chance. But, you know, he was horrible. You know, this link-up play was horrible, which is obviously always praised as his best, you know, attribute by Chelsea fans. He was horrible at that, but he did score 2 very good goals, both possibly onside but ruled offside. Although the second one, like I said already, you know, he hit after the whistle went, so that changes, you know, obviously the complexity of the situation. But the first one certainly would have made a big difference to the game, obviously taking the lead in the first half already, although obviously we ended up winning the game 1-0 anyway, so what difference does it make? But maybe it would have been a bit calmer. So if he was onside, still not sure. You know, he was very unlucky to be denied 1, if not 2, absolute top-class goals. You know, I do have to say that I do like Hazard a lot more down the middle in games against very defensive teams. He was a lot more involved in all of our recent games, you know, than he was today, I thought. And the other teams recently weren't any less or any more defensive than, you know, Palace were today. The front line generally was just very quiet. The same has to be said for Willian. And that was mostly caused by Crystal Palace defending. Yes, none of the front 3 were great. But also caused by Palace defending, like I just said. Jorginho was decent, I thought, defensively, and in dictating the game, he was actually very good, but did have a few too many misplaced passes for my liking personally. Barkley really wasn't great, too slow on the ball, as he usually is when he plays recently, really didn't do that well. Kante, though, was very good, you know, not just because of the goal he scored, but overall a very good game. Defensively, going forward as well, he tried, he had 2 shots from outside the box, not the best of shots, but, you know, he still tried and, you know, gave it his all and did actually really well, kept the ball well, defended well, attacked well. You know, Kante is just very good, even in that position, even though some people don't seem to understand that. And the same has to be said, in my opinion, for Azpilicueta, Rudiger, but also especially David Luiz, especially with that pass. And, you know, especially except for the last few minutes, you know, we commanded them. But it's not like Palace never tried. But, you know, whenever they did try, they struggled because also especially those 3 defended really well, plus Kante and Jorginho, like I just mentioned as well. And on Alonso, I mean, he was rather poor, but probably just average. He wasn't horrendous, I thought, today, but he certainly wasn't great. You know, definitely wasn't great. He had like 1 or 2 crosses, they were both awful. And about Kepa, there's literally nothing to say, to be honest. Like, didn't have a save to make. But yeah, I mean, it was obviously a good win, you know, and a really, really important 3 points, especially after the defeats by Arsenal and Tottenham yesterday. So we are now within 2 points off Tottenham, and how many points are we now clear of Arsenal? 5? I think we're 5 points clear of Arsenal, so that's obviously very helpful. And yeah, now that's all that's left to say is that I hope you guys have a really, you know, nice New Year's Eve, and then obviously a Happy New Year, and obviously I'll see you again on January 1st in the year of 2019 for the Southampton preview, which obviously, you know, that game takes place on January the 2nd. But yeah, that's it from me. Leave me all of your thoughts on the game down in the comment section below. Who was, you know, did anyone stand out for you? Was it Kante? Was it anyone else? What were you most disappointed with? Leave me all of your thoughts on it down in the comment section below. Like I said in the beginning, let's see whether we can hit 400 or more likes in this video, so make sure to smash that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, which is Last1507 on both Instagram and Twitter, like I said earlier. So, you know, do make sure to follow me over there. You can see it over here. The links to both of them are down in the description. I'd massively love you for it. And of course, this is YouTube, so if you haven't already, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell button and choose to be notified about all uploads so you don't miss any of our future videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.